Hi, thanks so much for joining us. My name is Bridget Burns with the University Innovation Alliance. We help universities share ideas about how to help low-income students. And today I have a fantastic guest that I'm excited to bring to you because not only is this person really valuable to our work currently, she's one of the very few people who has worked at multiple UIA campuses and really understands kind of the breadth and depth of our work. And we have just been so delighted ever since she came and joined us. So I'm going to bring her on in a second, but it is Dr. Jennifer Brown, who is at University of California Riverside. So I'm bringing her in. Hi, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Bridget. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. And we were delighted when we heard that you were being recruited to UCR because we're like, oh, one of ours. And so I wanted to just first, for folks who, well, first off, you're the Vice Provost for Undergraduate and the Dean?
Vice Provost and Dean for Undergraduate Education.
Which means you're responsible for everything for undergraduate students?
It appears that way, yes.
It feels that way on a Wednesday.
Yes.
So when you first came, I know that probably one of the reasons you were drawn to UCR is the legacy of UCR. That for those of you who don't know back at home, there are really only two colleges in the United States that are four-year public universities that have no achievement gap, and not because they just changed who they admitted, because of actual hard work and because of design and a lot of other things. So UC Riverside is one of those campuses, and we're always delighted to try and share what they know and what they're doing with other campuses. So I'm hoping you can share with us kind of when you came in with fresh eyes and you were trying to figure out like, why is it different here? What is going on? Could you share with us what you learned and kind of how you see the story of UCR?
Absolutely. So I think that one of the things that was appealing to me, even in the recruitment phase, was just the number of students who are first generation, over 50%. Shout out to First Gen Week. And also the number of students who were Pell eligible, or what some folks call low income, which again was over 50%. And, this is a Hispanic serving institution. We have over 40% Latino, Latina, Latinx, another 30% who are Asian population. So this is the first institution that was not predominantly Caucasian, which had an interesting dynamic in itself. So it was a personal and it was a professional goal to work with this population. Because I think that First Gen, for example, a lot of the stories and struggles of folks who make it versus those who don't, it's about good mentorship. And so going to your question, Bridget, I really think that it has been a place where culture has prevailed. In fact, we're trying to talk about what our secret sauce is, and we say that it is a longstanding culture, along with people and along with programs. And whereas other institutions who are doing really good work, doing a great job of trying to make sure their students succeed, it's been a look to your left, look to your right mentality. One of you won't be here. And this institution in particular says, we know that you belong from day one. And I think that's the thing that I've seen that is so different from other places. And I think it's that culture and people who are ingrained in this mission that help UCR achieve. The last thing I'll say that is interesting about UCR is that although programs are important and definitely an important part, because we have such a large population, it's not niche programming. This is programming that we do for all students, thinking about the baseline of areas where students might struggle or where they may fall off. And so just having something that benefits all students if they need it, I think is something different I haven't seen at other places.
That's great. I think so. Something that folks have heard from UIA in the last year or so is really an urgency around stop treating low-income first generation and students of color like they are a different group of students that you should create a boutique program around. They are instead your leading indicator, and you should actually design the experience around them. And I feel like too many campuses really do the bolt-on approach of adding a center here, a center there, a this, a that, and it just, you miss the whole design flaw, which is that, students weren't always, we didn't have like an empathy session and figure out what would be the optimum way to build a university. Nobody had that luxury. But UCR seems to have somehow over time done that, because it is all designed as if your students, again, majority low income, majority students of color, like that, and first generation, like that is the intentionality, and that it's not treating them like they're a subpopulation or a side group. I think that mentality is really powerful, and it's one that we're always trying to coach other institutions to think about. So that's really valuable for us.
Oh, absolutely.
So, what is something that has surprised? Has there anything really surprised you about UCR? I mean, I know that that's a big change to move to being in the UCs and to be at a campus that's so kind of groundbreaking from Oregon State. Are there other things that you thought it was going to be one way and you've been surprised it's different?
There are surprises everywhere. And since this is being recorded, I want to be careful in how I say that. But I guess what I'll say is one thing that I've been surprised about is within the UC system, how far we still have to go with respect to funding to a campus like this one. I'm also surprised at the California Master Plan, which basically, it's a great plan, but basically says that the campus of Riverside and the campus of Merced are the two that are slated to grow. And so we've had some growing pains. And so it's surprising to know that we're still doing very well in graduation rates, given the fact that, we've hit a couple snags and bottlenecks because of the slated growth. So that's maybe one of the surprises of joining a UC system.
Yeah, because I do think the rest of the country thinks the California Master Plan, Clark Kerr, just like this visionary, most of them still, states are like, oh, we need a master plan, right? But the downside of having a master plan is set it and forget it to some degree. And the demographics and the growing population and the challenges that California is dealing with, whether it's climate change or any of these other, you sometimes need to have more flexibility. And also, I think people think that being in California, that the funding situation will be super easy.
Right.
The Cal Grant and it seems like you have a ton of everything. Just seems like it's better off than at other states. But to know that it's actually just choose your heart.
Yeah, and you're competing for resources too, right? Because there are 10 campuses within the system, and you're trying to showcase that. So here's one thing that's great about the UC system. They really care. They really want to make sure they are dedicated to education for all. I believe that 100%. The resources, we don't have infinite resources. And so the constraints around that are just, there's a lot that goes into how things are divvied up. And there's a formula, which I'm not privy to, but let's just say if I was queen for the day, there are things that are important overall for all campuses, but if you're really trying to make this leap and you've seen a university like UCR that has made great strides, you would hope that you would give a little bit more in that area to help increase that work. And so that has been a challenge, but our Chancellor Wilcox, has been a great champion and cheerleader for those efforts. And I think that those conversations are starting to be understood, yet to be seen in how we, garner more resources and money, but at least the conversation is being heard. And then one thing that you said that's really interesting is the flexibility piece. And you're right, the California Master Plan was made, a little while ago. And so, yeah, trying to be nice, a little while ago. And so, circumstances change, demographics change. And again, the thing that I think makes Riverside so interesting is their intentionality, because when you think about the area, the Southern California area, the diversity that you see in the school is not necessarily because those folks lived here in this area. They were intentional about the outreach and making sure that certain populations were able to attend.
Yeah. I thought that when I asked you about surprise, that you were going to say something like how surprisingly more awesome it is to work for Kim Wilcox than you expected. If you don't know Kim, he is such a delight and a character. And if you have not heard his laugh, you are in for it, because it's a hoot hollering good time, and you can hear him when he's in a meeting.
Well, if I can add one surprise, I am surprised. I thought, coming from the Midwest, from Chicago. I was so happy. I'll never see snow again. And I'll just tell you that when it gets 115 degrees in July, you're looking for some relief. So I'm surprised that I can't take the heat as well as I thought I could.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. No. Well, I'm in Arizona today, and I feel turns out air conditioning doesn't solve all things.
Yeah.
Well, good. So I did want to flag also, just a point to note is that Kim, the Chancellor of UC Riverside, is also one of the few presidents or chancellors who has worked in the leadership at more than one UIA school. And he's a rare bird because he actually, I think Purdue, Kansas, Michigan State, and UCR, all UIA campuses, he's been at all, he's worked in all. So therefore he's a through line for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna also, I think that one thing that's been surprising for me is that how much of a secret UCR is, even in the state of California.
Right.
I was recently speaking with a foundation in California, and I was presenting about, our work, and there was all this interest about, what are the schools that have closed their achievement gap? And I mentioned UCR, and they didn't know, and I was like, they are right here. And so I do think that, celebrated abroad, but not really seen at home is just a classic case that you all experience.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we have loved having you on Team UIA, and it's been very helpful to have someone who can speak, who's familiar with more than one of our institutions. I wanted to ask just a quick tip for those in the audience who also have overwhelming jobs. A lot of folks who are VPs for undergraduate spend time in this work, and our fans, friends, colleagues. How do you do it? Do you have any tips? Like, how do you survive? Like, most people can't get through their inbox in a day, and I'm always trying to does someone know how you do it and keep your head?
Well, I think part of it is prioritization. So in time management, I think that's the most important. You can get sucked into emails, and I do. I get sucked into something, and then it makes me click onto something else, and all related to the work. But I think that part of it, I have 10 direct reports who are all doing fabulous things, anything from running the summer term to the Academic Resource Center. And, it's really about prioritization of what is going on within that term, within that time, and also centering yourself. So thinking about at the end of the day. So for me, my center is my family. And I think about there will be emails that come after 5, but from 5:30, 6 o'clock till about 9 o'clock, that is my daughter's time. And I need to be as efficient as possible during the day to make sure that she can get that time, with some rare exceptions where I might have to do some things. But how do you get through the day? A very good executive assistant who can be the gatekeeper, who can block some things, really good staff, parts of your team that can take on some of the challenges with you, not for you, but with you. And then just, really centering yourself around what it is that you need to get done. So for example, we have a long-term, it's really midterm, but I'll say a long-term goal for this academic year of having a Student Success Summit, which maybe, Bridget, I need to talk to you about when I see you at APLU for April or May of this year. And so just really making sure that each of my units are working toward cohesive goals, thinking about retention, thinking about graduation rates, thinking about, how each of their individual units contribute to our overall goals, and just using that as a guiding principle to get through what's important. And that doesn't include the committee work or the other things that you do on behalf of the provost or the other deans. But again, that time management helps with that.
Oh, yeah. No, I just, new assistant this week, already very stoked. But fingers crossed, right? Like once people, part of the thing about a good executive assistant is, trying to dose them on how much of your chaos they see and how complicated, right? So I'm like, you're just going to look at the calendar this week, and we're not going to move the email yet because you don't want to know how many unread emails and how that's going to cause a panic attack for other people. So that's great. Last question. I make you travel a lot. I know that you have to travel a lot. So any tip that helps you keep your head and your focus in the midst of living on airplanes and in cars?
This goes back to my family and my focus and centerization. Is that a word? We'll make it a word for today. Is, how do I balance this travel. And so for me, this actually happened before I had a family. But back when I was a professor, I would use that time to recharge and sleep, to be honest. That is my time where a lot of people, and sometimes I do, if they're tight deadlines, of course, I'm working on the plane, but I use that time to sleep. And when I get to where I'm going, I'm probably still a little jet lagged and groggy, but I'm not to the extent that I would be if I just taxed myself all day. So I give myself permission to say, you know, if I'm on this 5-hour flight to Washington, D.C., if I can get a good 2 hours of work done and I've slept for 3 hours, I will be in a better place. So I know that sounds bad. I know yours is compression socks. For me, it's sleep.
No, that's good. I mean, so especially when I meet people who have young children, whenever I see them on the road, if they don't travel with the child, if they're, you know, so long as they have support, that they're like, I'm not going to the dinner. I'm going to go take a nap. And it's like the only time they actually get to sleep. So I get that. I'm doing the opposite right now because when I'm home, I try and stick to a relatively like 6:30, you know, try and be home. But I'm on the road, and so therefore I've been at work until 9 o'clock every night this week. But that's just because we have our board meeting coming up, and I know I can get away with it because I can't pull those kind of hours and not have my partner super grumpy with me. So. Right. Well, this has been delightful. Thank you so much for making the time, and I can't wait to hear about your Student Success Summit. I want to come. How?
I want you to come. So awesome. I'll see you, this weekend?
Yes, great, awesome. Well, I'll see you in San Diego. Our board meeting is on Monday, so very excited to get you know, the leaders of this effort together and get them a chance to connect. And hopefully, I'll see you if you can come to the board meeting. Great, and
I'll be there.
Well, then perfect. But thank you, Dr. Jennifer Brown, and we're very excited to have learned a little bit more about UCR today. And I will talk to you later.
Thank you, Dr. Burns.